That was wonderful. That was wonderful. We're gonna look at the Continent Area 1 global prehistory, 30,500 BCE. We were just looking at cave stones before we had to do the dailies, and I was like, my ass hurts, dude. I spend too much time on my bike,
just riding it,
dude, just bouncing up and down on those hills, and I spend so much time, and I feel like my ass hurts so much. I never stand up on my bike unless I'm like trying to get up a hill. You know, if I'm trying to get up a hill, then fine. But I don't try to stand up on a bike, and so my ass always hurts, and whenever I sit down on this chair, it's a cheap ass chair from Walmart. Whenever I just sit down on a chair, it's like a big fucking deal. Anyways, so yeah, I read around here that 25,000 years ago, a rock shelter in the Huns Mountains finds one half of a 2-part drawing of like a cow or a capybara or something. This looks more like a cow. You see the udder. And when does the Apollo 11, upon hearing of his shortwave and NASA's successful space mission to the moon? Okay, but like, when did Apollo 11 launch? 1969. Okay. 1969. July 16th. Oh, so on July 16th, 1969, Apollo 11 launches, successful landing on the moon a couple days later. But in April, did I already forget it? 11, baby. July. In July, this guy hears that Apollo 11 was successful. He's in fucking Nambia in the Huns Mountains, and he finds this. This is where trivia is born, bro. This is the hard work you have to put in to be the history guy at the trivia, by the way. To be the art and history guy at the trivia, you have to put in the work, the time, the sweat, the tears of going through Khan Academy and Wikipedia all fucking day. That's what you have to do around here. That's what you have to do. Those sports guys, they just have to watch games. Those science guys, they just have to get degrees. Me, I gotta read. God damn. In total, 7 stone fragments of brown-gray quartzite, some of the depicting traces of animal figures drawn in charcoal, ochre, white, were found buried in a concentrated area of the cave floor less than 2 meters square. It's not possible to learn the actual date of the fragment. It's possible to estimate when the rocks were buried by radiocarbon dating. While more recent discoveries of much older human artistic endeavors have corrected our understanding, considering the 2000... Okay, so, right. How does... Radiocarbon dating works by measuring the amount of carbon-14, a radioactive isotope in carbon, present in organic materials. When an organism is alive, it continually takes in carbon, including carbon-14 from the atmosphere. Once it dies, it stops absorbing carbon. The carbon-14 begins to decay at a known rate. Its half-life is about 5,730 years. By measuring the remaining carbon-14 in a sample and comparing it to a reference standard, scientists can estimate the time since the Oh, this is Copilot. Go Wikipedia, which is a much better source than Copilot. That's saying something, bro. Method for determining the age, the 1940s at the University of Chicago by Willard Libby. This is trivia. This is a trivia question, bro. You're gonna be at the bar, bro. You're gonna be at the bar, Modelo in your hand, bro. With a little piece of paper. Your team's gonna have something stupid on it, like I don't know, like Rudy Giuliani's best buds or something like that. You're gonna be reading this, and you're gonna be like, "Fuck, man." The question is, it's a history one. It's like, when was carbon dating developed, or who invented carbon dating? And it's like, oh, bro, I don't know. And you're gonna be like, Willard Libby. And you'll be like, oh, I don't believe you. And you're like, it's fine, bro. And then they're gonna yell out. They're gonna be like, Willard Libby. You're gonna be the bee's fucking knees, bro. You're gonna be the bee's fucking knees for the rest of the goddamn night. So keep that in mind, bro. Willard Libby, in the late 1940s at the University of Chicago, developed radiocarbon dating. Anyways, Archaeologists argue that the cave stones were buried between 25,500 and 25,300 years ago during the Middle Stone Age period in southern Africa, making them, at the time of their discovery, the oldest dated art known on the African continent, among the earliest evidence of human artistic expression worldwide. All right. While more recent discoveries of much older artistic endeavors have corrected our understanding, the stones remain the oldest examples of figurative art in the African continent. The discovery contributes to our... So there is older. 100,000-year-old paint workshop in the Blombos Cave on the southern coast of Africa. This is the oldest? Why would you take me... I click on Blombos Cave, and you take me back to... Oh, no. No, this is a different one. Incised ochre from the Blombos Cave. The first examples of what we might term art in Africa, dated between 100,000 and 60,000 years ago, emerged in two distinct forms: personal adornment in the form of perforated seashells suspended on twine, and incised and engraved stone, ochre, and ostrich eggshell. Despite some sites being 8,000 and 40,000 years apart, 8,000 kilometers and 40,000. An intriguing feature of the earliest art is that the first 4 years appear remarkably similar. It's worth noting here that term art in this context is highly problematic, in that we cannot assume that humans living 100,000 years ago, or even 10,000 years ago, had a concept of art in the same way we do, particularly in the modern Western sense. Nice, I love that. However, it remains a useful umbrella term for our purposes here. Virtue signaling? We have virtue signaling in our smarthistory.org, bro? What's going on here? The practice of engraving or incising, which emerged about 12,000 years ago. Okay. Ostrich eggshells. Engraved ostrich eggshells. So it looks like 100,000 years ago. 77,000 years ago is our incised ochre from the Blombos Cave in South Africa. Kind of cool, bro. Did we come out of the fucking water in South Africa? Like we did little crawls right out of the water in South Africa. Is that where the monkeys came at? Like obviously there was like the movement from jungle to plain, right? I've got that down in my head, right? But how did they get to jungle? They got to jungle via where? You know what I mean? Like did the little fish come out of the water in South Africa and go to a jungle, or one of the coasts? Like, do we know which coast we came out of? I don't know. What is the oldest coast, right? Like, if Pangea for sure existed, what is the oldest coast? And I won't be taking any questions about whether or not things are real. We're basing the assumption off of that we're an educated environment in here, that we're not dumbasses. Okay, so we're not doing flat Earth questions here. We're not doing Pangea questions here. I'm just wondering, when we climbed out of the water, right? When did that happen? You know what I mean? All of that jazz. I don't know. I don't know when that happened. In a total, 7 stone fragments of brown gray quartzite, some of them depicting traces of animal figures. Maybe it's Nambia, dude. Maybe we moved up from Nambia. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Genetic and fossil evidence that Homo sapiens developed on the continent of Africa more than 100,000 years ago and spread throughout the world. But what we do not know, what we have only been able to assume, is that art too began in Africa. Is Africa, where humanity originated, home to the world's oldest art? If so, can we say that art began in Africa? Well, yeah, I mean, what is art, right? Come on, like, what is art? 100,000 years ago was human occupation. Apollo 11 rock shelters. Allah overlooks a dry gorge sitting 200 meters above what was once a river along the valley floor. Inside the cave, above and below where Apollo 11 cave stones are found. Cultural layers representing 100,000 years of human occupation. Found raw materials not native to the region, signaling stone tool technology transported over long distances. Cave walls, rock paintings, red zigzags, geometric images. Cave stones on the cleavage face. Nice. What was once a complete slab. An unidentified animal form is drawn resembling a feline in appearance, but with human hind legs that were probably added later. Oh, is that a cat then? 2 slightly curved horns likely belong to oryx, large grazing animal. What horns are you talking about, bro? Those aren't horns, bro. Are those horns for real? Oh, I can kind of see them now. They're right here. I was wrong. There's a little tail right there. But what the fuck is this? That's kind of a leap, bro. Therianthropes, bro? Come on. That's kind of a leap. That is, a dude drew an animal badly. And we were like, yo, this has to be like some kind of shamanistic belief. I was like, come on. Okay. On the animal's underbelly, possibly the sexual organ of a bovid. So maybe I was right. Maybe it's just a cow drawn badly. Maybe it's a cow drawn badly. Think about that. Anybody think about that yet? The Middle Stone Age period in South Africa. Prehistoric man is a hunter-gatherer, moving from place to place in search of food and shelter. This modern human also drew animal form with charcoal, forming such imagine as it was observed. So what makes Apollo 11 cave stone find so interesting? Stones offer evidence that Homo sapiens in the Middle Stone Age, 25,000 years ago, not only anatomically modern, but behaviorally modern as well. Early humans possessed the new and unique capacity for modern symbolic thought, the human capacity long before what was previously understood. Art mobilier, small-scale prehistoric art that is movable, but mobile art. Rock art in general is not unique to Africa. Okay, we got through the Apollo 11. Did we just... Yeah, so we skipped ahead a little bit, but I mean, that's not that big of a deal. That's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's required works of art for us to look at, bro. They just want us to look at it, dude. Whoa. This is a replica, bro. They just redrew it. They redrew it so that people didn't look at the real can't look at the real thing. 15,000 years later in the land in the valley of Vezir, they discover a cave in a tall hill. After struggling through small openings and narrow passages to access the larger rooms, prehistoric people discovered the cave wall surfaces functioned as a perfect blank canvas upon which to draw and paint. Yeah, these are quite fucking nice, bro. See, that's a good cow, bro. Is that his penis or an udder? It's got horns, right? So it's his penis? Because the females don't have horns, right? How did they do it? With their hands, bro. Oh, that's so interesting. The animals are rendered in what's become called twisted perspective, in which their bodies are depicted in profile while we see the horns from a more frontal viewpoint. Images are sometimes entirely linear. That's super cool, dude. The cave spaces range widely in size and ease of access. Left wall of the hollow poles replica. Okay. Why don't we get the real picture, bro? Like you're a site designed to like teach people. Why can't I look at a picture, bro? I can't look at a picture of it. Do I die? Is this that fucking SCP where like you see like 2 pixels of it, you fucking die, dude? Oh my goodness, dude. Why can't I get a regular picture? Disemboweled bison and bird-headed human figure. Many scholars suspected why prehistoric people painted and engraved the walls of Lesson and other caves. Likely, perhaps most famous story put forth by a priest. Briel spent considerable time in many of the caves, meticulously recording the images and drawings when the paintings were too challenging to photograph. Relying primarily on a field study known as ethnography. Ethnography. That sounds racist. Briel believed that the images played a role in hunting magic. The theory suggested that the prehistoric people who used the cave may have believed that a way to overpower their prey involved creating images of it during rituals designed to ensure a successful hunt. This seemed plausible when we remember that survival was entirely dependent on successful foraging and hunting, but it's also important to remember how little we actually know about these people. Yeah, dude, you just made that shit up. He just made that shit up. That's not a theory, bro. That's a hypothesis. There's no facts to back that up. There's no facts, bro. That's just could have done this. And everybody's like, yo, there it is. That's a good idea, bro. It's like, wait a second. What? That doesn't make any sense. What? Anyways, caves of Lascaux are the most famous of all the known caves in the region. In fact, the popularity has permanently endangered them. From 1940 to 1960, the numbers visited and their impact on the delicately balanced environment of the cave, which supported the preservation of the cave images so long, necessitated the cave's closure to the public. Okay. So the replica Lascaux 2 was created 200 yards away. That's trivia. Lascaux cannot be visited. Lascaux 2 is the only thing that can be visited. The other one is protected by a World Heritage Site, UNESCO. So we've learned 2 things today, right? Willard Libby Is that right? Let's go back. Let's see. Willard Libby created in the... Yeah, I was right. Willard Libby created radiocarbon dating in the 1940s at the University of Chicago. And then here we see that Lascaux 2 is the only thing that... Lascaux 1 can't be visited. Lascaux 2 is an exact replica that you can visit. Easy kills. 2 things. 2 whole things today. Oh, man. Every day, we're just learning more and more. The cane-lid sacrum in the shape of a canine. Prehistoric art around the globe. When we think about prehistoric art, like the first thing that comes to mind are the beautiful cave paintings in France and Spain. They're naturalistic images of bulls, bison, deer, and other animals. But it's important to note that the prehistoric art has been found around the globe in North and South America, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Prehistoric works that we've discovered so far date around 40,000 BCE and after. Lithograph of a sacrum. What is a sacrum? It's a carving? Okay, I'm going to look up what a sacrum is. It's a triangular-shaped bone located at the base of the vertebral column formed by the fusion of 5 vertebrae. 5? Well, that's like not normal, I guess. Because of the tail. I see. So the sacrum is at the base of the vertebral column. Triangular bone at the base of the spine that forms fusing of the sacral vertebrae S1 through S5 between ages 18 and 30. What happens at 31? Situates at the upper back of the pelvic cavity between the 2 wings of the pelvis. That's fun. Okay. The sacrum is like that whole thing in between your hips. That's interesting. Sculpture is made from the now fossilized remains of the sacrum of an extinct camelid. Camelid is a member of the Camelidae family. Think camels, llama, Camelidae, Camelid, Camelus harris. Me trying to come up with a right-wing shill trying to come up with a theory. Camelus harris. The sacrum is a large triangular bone at the base of the spine. Holes were cut into the end of the bone to represent nostrils, and the bone is also engraved, though this is difficult to see in photographs. The date of the sculpture is difficult to determine because of this stratigraphic analysis was not done at the find spot at the time of discovery. What the fuck is stratigraphic analysis? There is a power issue. I think this is my USB plug-in that has to get fixed. I'll fix that eventually. I probably won't fix it. Oh, stratum. I know what stratum is. Okay. Like I'm not gonna look at the definition. Like stratum, like debris. You know, there's just stratum everywhere. There's like and in this case, stratigraphic would mean like a graphic, as in like a chart, right? So like a chart of debris study. Strata and layering stratification in geology helps scientists understand Earth's history by examining how sedimentary layers are organized. Okay, we're gonna stop at 2 hours. We're at 1 hour and 5 minutes right now. Just collecting, bro. Willard Libby, 1940s, Chicago University. The cave paintings. Lascaux 2 is it just a replica of Lascaux 1? A stratum is like a debris, like a bit of dirt, like a sedimentary layer, and then this is a sacrum. A sacrum is that portion of the bone that connects the vertebrae to the tail, I guess. And then camelid is a member of the Camelidae family, and that includes mammals, camels, llamas, and alpacas. Sacrum is the large triangular bone on the base of the spine. Holes were cut into the end of the bone to represent nostrils. Oh, I see. That's horrible. I'm doing all this so that next time, so that I can go to a bar trivia every week and just kill it. Just every single time, become the guy at the bar that's like, oh, fucking this guy's here. I'm not even going to participate, bro. I want to be that guy, dude. I want to be, they're like, oh, yeah. You know, this guy right here, Newport fucking knows. Yeah. But right now we're doing all of this. We're going through all of this because it's a required reading for our Khan Academy College AP Art History, so we can get through all 12 units. But there's a required works for art. All right. So the date of the sculpture is difficult to determine because of a stratigraphic analysis not done at the fine spot at the time of discovery. We know what that is now. This would have involved a study of the different layers of soils and rocks before the object was removed. Another problem is that the object was essentially lost to scholars between 1895 and 1956. It was in private hands. What the fuck does that mean? In 1882, the sculpture was in the possession... Oh, it's going to tell us now. Mariano de la Barcena, a Mexican geologist and botanist who wrote the first scholarly article on it. He described the object in a way: the fossil bone contains cuts or carvings made by the human hand, and then cuts seem to be made with a sharp instrument, and some polish on the edges of the cuts may still be seen. The articular extremity of the last vertebra was utilized perfectly to represent the nose and mouth of the animal. Barcena was convinced of the authenticity of the object, but over the years, due to the lack of scientific evidence from the find spot, other scholars have questioned its age and whether the object was even made by human hands. What the fuck does that mean? Human hands as in like non-human? Like what? Like dogs, bro? This was very clearly... Look at it, bro. How could that have naturally occurred? You know what I mean? Like how do you naturally carve a fucking pig snout into that shit, dude? Whatever. Anyways, today's scholars agree that carving marks were made by human hands. Okay. Yeah, that's insane. It could never have occurred without human intervention. Yeah, alright, bro. Like, they're doubting whether or not a pig snout happens naturally in the wild in a dead animal with its bones completely cleaned. Alright. Alright, bro. Sacra from the various forms of camel in illustration. Yeah. So this is like a normal thing when, like, a camel dies for us to, like... put a little face in there, bro. I guess it does kind of look like a dog face. Because the carving was made in a period before writing had developed, it is likely impossible to know what the sculpture meant to the carver and to his or her culture. One possible way to interpret the object is to look at it through the lens of later Mesoamerican cultures. Mesos, meaning the middle or immediate. The middle period, Middle Ages. Mesoamerica, the sacrum is seen as sacred, and that some Mesoamerican indigenous languages named this bone with words referring to sacredness and the divine. In English, sacrum is divided from the Latin as os sacrum, meaning sacred bone. The sacrum is also, perhaps significantly for its meaning, located near the reproductive organs. I mean, that makes sense, right? We've been sitting here like doing this whole thing. This is sacred because it's something that can reproduce, right? Goddesses of fertility and all of that jazz. So I guess in the European canon, that makes sense. So I don't care about interpretation, actually. As appealing as this interpretation is, and the argument the author makes is quite convincing, it is wise to be wary of connecting cultures across such geographic distances. Oh my goodness. I'm basically writing this for them, bro. I'm not even looking at the screen. I'm writing this for them, bro. I'm writing that, though of course there are some aspects of our shared humanity that may be common across cultures. Maybe, but we don't know. And at this point in time, we have no direct evidence to support this interpretation. Yeah. It's related to sacredness, recreation, and fire, to the importance of the attached bone, its middle and immediate neighbors, not limited to Mesoamerica. Yeah. We don't know that the bones at the base of the spine is especially sacred. We don't know... Like I said, it makes sense in the English Christian canon, which is a lot of what Western media has been based on, right? Western European things have been based on. But what about China? What do we know about the different bones in China? Did they do the same thing? Well, we don't know. We don't know. I don't know. I don't have that in my head. I've got a lot of Western canon stuff in my head, but none of that other stuff. All right. In ancient North Africa rock city, modern explorers wetted a wall with water, revealing this grateful image. Between 1933 and 1940, Camel Corps offer Lieutenant Brennans of the French Foreign Legion completed a series of small sketches and handwritten notes detailing his discovery of dozens of rock art sites deep within the canyons of Tassili-N'Ajjer. Tassili-N'Ajjer is to access this plateau in the Algerian section of the Saharan Desert near the borders of Libya and Niger in northern Africa. This feels like one of those things. Whoa, 1933 to 1940. Those were pretty important years for the Europe. I wonder what was happening right then. That guy would be there, a Camel Corps officer would be there in North Africa in the 1930s to 40s. I wonder if there was any other significant event that was happening at the time that would cause an African campaign in France with French soldiers in North Africa. I don't know, man. I guess we'll never know. Because we're just doing art history. I don't know. It could be something else. Brennan's donated hundreds of sketches to the Bordeaux Museum. Donated? Bro stole them. I'm just kidding. Virtue signaling over here. To the Bordeaux Museum in Algiers, alerting the scientific community to one of the richest rock art concentrations in Earth, and prompting site visits that included a fellow Frenchman, archaeologist Henry Le Hout. Le Hout recognized the importance of hood on that thing, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I can't stop thinking about it, so I just say it right now. If I say it right now, it goes away. Like, it's no longer a thing in my head. Le Hout on that thing recognized the importance of the region and returned again, most notably in 1956, with a team of copyists for a 16-month expedition to map and study the rock art of Tassili. 2 years later, Le Hout published A la découverte des fréquets du Tassili. If there's a French guy reading, he's strangling me right now, like through the screen. He's just taking both of his hands and shoving them in around my neck, and he's just fucking strangling me. He's just doing that shit, bro. The book became an instant bestseller, and today is one of the most popular texts on archaeological discovery. Le Hout made African rock art famous by bringing some of the estimated 15,000 human figure and animal paintings and engravings found on the rock walls of Tassili's many gorges and shelters to the wider public. Yet, contrary to the impression left by the title of this book, neither Le Hout nor his team could lay claim to having discovered Central Saharan rock art long before Le Hout and even before the Brennans. In the late 19th century, a number of travelers from Germany, Switzerland, and France had noted the existence of strange and important rock sculptures in Gauntlet, Tadarat Akakos, and Upper Tassili. But it was Tuareg, the indigenous peoples of the region, many of whom served as guides to the early European explorers, who long knew of the paintings and engravings uncovered on the rock faces of the Tassili. I didn't need to virtue signal. They were going to do that anyways. They were going to talk about how the guides were like, hey, and these are our famous, sacred, religious rock sculptures. And the guys were like, oh, nice, man. I'll see you later, bro. That is insane, bro. They took them. They just took them. Oh, man. Le Hout published not only the reproductions of the paintings and engravings he found on the rock walls of Tassili, but also his observations. In one excerpt, he reported that with a can of water and a sponge in hand, he set out to investigate a curious figure spotted by a member of his team in an isolated rock shelter located within a compact group of mountains known as the Auhanret Massif, the highest of all the rock cities in Tassili. Le Hout swabbed the wall with water to reveal a figure he called the Horned Goddess. And he talks about how there's this the running horned woman, the title of which painting is commonly known today, was found in a massive so secluded and so difficult to access that Le Hout team concluded that the collection of shelters was likely a sanctuary, and the female figure, the most beautiful, most finished, and the most original, a goddess. Le Hout's suggestion that the painting's source was Egyptian was influenced by a recently published hypothesis by his mentor, the French anthropologist Henri Breuil. The then undisputed authority on prehistoric rock art, was renowned for his work Paleolithic cave art from Europe. The White Lady of Brandberg, Southwest Africa, her companions and her guards. Breuil famously claimed that the painting discovered a small rock shelter in Namibia showed influences of classical antiquity and was not African in origin, but possibly the work of Phoenician travelers from the Mediterranean. I feel like it's bullshit. But it's being written as bullshit. Like, it's being written so that you implicitly feel the skepticism from the words. I can't tell you exactly how, right? I think it's because it keeps talking in the finite. I think that's like you read something and you say, okay, this is being written in a finite, and therefore I cannot trust that it will continue to exist in a period of time, right? So like we look at was renowned, right? Famously claimed, classical and not blah 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 blah, easily convinced of outside influence. Easily convinced, as in like they're like easily convinced, as in like this guy was gullible, right? This gullible bitch thought because that the most famous anthropologist was like the then, you see here, then undisputed, right? As in later on he will be disputed. I don't know. It is definitely foreign influence question mark? Foreign influence question mark? Time and scholarship reveal that the assignment of Egyptian influence on the running woman horn was erroneous, and Lahote the victim of a hoax. French members of his team made copies of the Egyptianized figures, passing them off as faithful reproductions of the authentic Tassili Rockwall paintings. These fakes were accepted by Lahote, if indeed he knew nothing of the forgeries, and falsely sustained his belief in the possibility of foreign influence on the Central Saharan rock art. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know that now. Man, this is some good shit. That's good shit. That's good foreshadowing. I love when a nonfiction article is like gives you foreshadowing. That's good, bro. I like that. Like they want you to read as if it's a story, and you're like, oh fuck, that's cool, man. And then you read it and you're like, I think I know what's gonna happen next. And then you read on to see what happens next, and you end up being right. And you're like, hell yeah. I love that. Would reveal that the assignment of Egyptian influence on the running horn woman was erroneous, and the Lahote victim of a hoax. You knew that. Not alone in finding it hard to believe. Yet Brill and Lahote were not alone in finding it hard to believe that the ancient Africans discovered how to make art of their own, or to have developed artistic sensibilities. Until quite recently, many Europeans maintained that art spread or was taken into Africa, and aiming to prove this thesis, anointed many works with classical-sounding names and sought out similarities with early rock art in Europe. Although such vestiges of colonial thinking are today facing a reckoning, cases such as The White Lady, both of Namibia and Tassili, remind us of the perils of imposing cultural values from the outside. Crouching giraffe giving birth. Bro, you're just gonna hit me with that? You're just like, yeah, man. By the way, colonialism has degraded our ability to look at art properly. Here's a giraffe giving birth, by the way. Here's an actual giraffe giving birth. It's like, bro, that doesn't make any sense. Chronology. Yeah, we have not yet learned how and what places the practice of rock art began. No firm evidence has been found to show that African rock art, some 10 million images across the continent, is anything other than a spontaneous initiative by early Africans. Yeah, I mean, makes sense to me. Yo, this is kind of crazy, though. I like this. I kind of like this. I like this art. I'd have this as a phone background, bro. Okay. She is indeed a goddess. Was she indeed a goddess in a rock shelter, some sort of sanctuary? What does this image mean? And why did the artist make it? I don't know, man. Why are you asking me all these questions? I'm here to learn from you. Lahote recounted that the running horned woman was found on an isolated rock whose base was hollowed out into a number of small shelters that could not have been used as dwellings. This remote location, coupled with an image of marked pictorial quality, depicting a female with two horns on her head, dots on her body, probably a representation of sacrification. Potentially modifying the body to create designs, pictures, words on skin. Scarification, dumbass. Not sacrification, dumbass. Scarification. And wearing such attributes of the dance as armlets and garters suggested him that the site and the subject of the painting fell outside of the everyday. More recent scholarship has supported Lahote's belief in the painting's symbolic rather than literal representation. As Jehida Sukupova has noted, hunter-gatherers were unlikely to wear horns, or other accessories on their head, and to make paintings on their whole bodies in their ordinary life. Rather, this female horned figure, her body adorned and decorated, found in one of the highest mountains in Sicily, a region believed to hold special status due to its elevation, suggests ritual, rite, or ceremony. Cool, bro. Okay, there's further work to be done in the advance of interpretation of the running horned woman. Archaeological data from decorated pottery, which is dated artistic tradition, is key in suggesting the concept of art was firmly established in Central Sahara at the time of Sicily rock art production. Okay. And there's a big threat. Sponge with water to enhance reproduction of images. Blah, blah, blah. Devastating effect on upsetting the physical, chemical, and biological balance in the images. Don't do that. Don't spray water on your fucking thousands of years old rock art, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. This beautiful cut was 5,000 years ago. This decoration echoes its shape. We're gonna go a little fast on this. This looks like that SCP I was talking about earlier, where like the 4 pixels, and if you see it, it kills you. Pottery from Susa. Because of its early indestructible nature, pottery is a critical class of material evidence about the ancient world. Most beautiful pottery from ancient areas comes from the site of Susa, first settled in 6,000 years ago, located in lower Zagros Mountains. Oh, nice. In Iran? Yeah, in Iran. Iran, man. I wonder how they're doing today. I'm sure they're fine today. The most important area of this first settlement in Susa was a monumental platform on which a temple was built in the Zagros Mountains. So one of the first ever some of the earliest pottery came from the Susa Mountains, the Susa in the lower Zagros Mountains, east of the Tigris River. Easy kills. I will remember that. So we have Willard Libby. Is it really Willard? Willard Libby. Willard Libby. Willard Libby, Will for short, Will Libby, created radiocarbon dating in the 1940s at the Chicago University. One of the oldest paintings we've ever seen was the LaCroix cave, and they did a recreation of it, the LaCroix 2 cave, so that people could stop touching the fucking walls. And then what else did we learn? The sacrum. The sacrum is that fucking bone that attaches the vertebrae. There's 6 holes in there. And they used to make things like faces out of this stuff. Leholt was one of the first people to start stealing, I guess. Leholt and that other guy, I forgot his name. The first people start stealing art from the Sahara Desert, and he found the horned running lady. He thought he was a god, but we don't know that for sure. And one of the earliest urns we've ever found was in the Zagros Mountains, east of the Tigris River, in modern day Iran, in the lower Zagros Mountains. Is that east or west? East of the Tigris River. Where's the Tigris River? East of the Tigris River. It doesn't tell me here, but Tigris River, east of the Tigris. It's not west. It's east of the Tigris River. I think we that's a lot down already, but I think we did great on that. We have to do our trivia. You're so right. Here we go. We have who was the head coach that helped the Chicago Bears win the Super Bowl 20? I don't know. This guy looks like a a Bill Belichick. This was a Mike Ditka. That was Mike Ditka? How am I supposed to know that? Man, these fucking sports guys, man, they know their shit. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm not watching ads. I would just leave the app. You're not going to keep me here to submit. Like, I'm just going to leave the app, Trivia Crack. Like, you don't get it? I'm not going to keep the app open to watch your fucking ad, dude. Anyways, Susa 1 pottery is likely only made for burial and not for daily use. We know this because excavations of homes and archaeological surveys of surrounding lands find very few examples of it. Although, interestingly, there are faint signs of wear on some vessels, possibly meaning that they were used just before being deposited for burial. Susa 1 pottery is mostly built by hand, although some pieces seem to exhibit the use of a slow potter's wheel. What is a slow potter's wheel? I think we're on 2 now. Yeah. No, we're on 10. It was supposed to be 2, but... Oh, man. A potter's wheel. It's a machine used in the shaping known as throwing. Is that what we're calling pottery nowadays? Oh, you guys can't see that. Potter's wheel is a machine used in the shaping known as throwing. I did not know that. Of clay and around ceramic ware, the wheel may also be used during the process of trimming excess clay from leather-hard dried ware that is stiff but malleable, and for applying incised decoration or rings of color. Okay. So, whenever you're doing that thing where you're like, it's a potter's wheel. It's a potter's wheel. You know. You're like using your foot too. You're like, and you're like banging your foot. Oh, my upstairs neighbor, my downstairs neighbor's gonna fucking hate me, bro. Okay, so where were we? Not here. Here. Slow potter's wheel, I guess, would be non-mechanical in nature, non-electric. The paintings on the pot is asymmetrical and exhibit subtle irregularities which indicate the direction was added freehand. That decoration was added freehand. The most common shapes for drinking goblets are beakers, serving plates, and small jars, possibly a specific set of dishes for a meal in the afterlife. Though a quick look at Susa 1 pottery might one think it is very similar. In fact, each vessel has a motif or combination of motifs that is unique. This variety likely means a large class of artisans produced them over a period of only a couple of generations. Only a couple of generations. It's like 200 years, bro. I mean, you think about it, like, how many generations are you gonna see? I don't know. It feels like it's gonna be a lot. That's a lot, bro. I don't know, man. Anyways, images on the exterior of the beaker are divided into bands and registers. The top band is filled with highly repetitive, abstract drawings of long-necked birds. That's my alarm. I have to call my work. So we're actually going to end it now. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And I'll see you later.